Welcome back. My name is Tolly Bryn. This is The Joy of Awareness. In this video I wanted to talk a bit about topical steroid withdrawal, which is something that I've dealt with personally. If you don't know what it is, you can Google it, although you may not enjoy this video that much, because it's going to be mostly about that, and really, like, if you're not dealing with it, the less you know about it, the better, I guess. Although, no, I take that back. Like, if you know about it, you can maybe help other people, and you can spread awareness and do all that stuff. So, listen if you want. But this is mostly for people who are dealing with it. In some earlier videos, I went into my own story about topical steroid withdrawal. And I kind of interconnected it with other areas of health, because I've started to realize that these labels that we put on ourselves, like for me it was eczema and allergies and digestive issues, and then I had topical steroid withdrawal, and then I had like failing eyesight and stuff like that. It all stems from the same root. They're not separate. So bear that in mind when I speak about topical steroid withdrawal in this video. Yes, it is a problem, and it is something that is developed in a very specific way, and I'll go a little bit more into that as well. Basically, though, it's just overuse and misuse of steroid drugs, corticosteroid drugs, causes imbalances in the feedback systems of the body, the endocrine system specifically. The thing is, the corticosteroids are a sort of artificial hormone that's made and created with the purpose of mimicking a natural hormone in our body called cortisol, which is sometimes called the stress hormone, and one of its main effects is that it's vasoconstrictive, so it reduces blood flow, which is why these steroid medications, both topical and oral and injected, they're all used in order to fight inflammation, or fight is the wrong word. It's used to reduce inflammation. It doesn't fight it at all. It reduces inflammation. And this is fine and dandy. If you have an accident and your hand is swelling up and you've got a ring stuck in your finger, and it's cutting off the blood flow to your finger, and you might lose the finger. Inject some steroids into that, reduce the inflammation, take the ring off, and you've just saved your finger. Like, acute instances like that, just perfect drug. But the thing is that we have been raised and sort of indoctrinated to believe to believe the statement that drugs are the solution to any and all health issues. And this is just the biggest pile of bullcrap that I have ever heard. And when you use something like this artificial hormone, this cortisol mimicking drug, in my case it was topical steroids, and in the case of most people who've gone through topical steroid withdrawal, it was topical steroids, although many of us, me included, have also used oral steroids for this purpose. But the problem there is that most of us are prescribed these drugs for chronic illness. So whether it's skin issues, which I guess most of the people that are going through topical steroid withdrawal are dealing with, or were dealing with, skin issues originally. But I can imagine, like, people who are dealing with any kind of other illness where they are prescribed oral steroids will start to withdraw from those steroids with very similar consequences. So I'm not really sure on that count, so forgive me. But when you use a drug like this, it's basically telling your body that you have enough cortisol. When you're applying it topically to your skin again and again and again, every time you get a little bit of inflammation, like eczema or psoriasis or whatever it is, you're telling your body, like, oh, there's enough cortisol. So the body just stops producing its own cortisol. And this happens over a long period of time. But then when you realize, like, oh, these drugs are not the best thing for me. Like, I probably shouldn't be using them every single day and every single time I get any tiny rash or a pimple or whatever it is that you use it for. As soon as you realize that and you quit cold turkey, your body isn't that quick to realize, oh man, the cortisol's gone. Like, and what happens then is topical steroid withdrawal. And let me tell you, that's just one of the most disgusting, terrifying, horrifying things that you can ever imagine anybody going through. And it's just, I get like shivers every time I think about that period of my life. And it was a long period. It was 4.5 years that I went through this withdrawal process, although I'm not sure in retrospect exactly how much of that time was actually the withdrawal process and how much of it was basically just bad health. So I'll go a bit more into that later on. But this is the basic gist. You've kind of ruined the feedback loop, the natural feedback loop of your body. And when the body doesn't produce its own cortisol, then everything becomes more inflamed than it should be. Because remember, cortisol is a hormone that the body secretes in order to vasoconstrict. So I'm not sure exactly on the mechanisms as to why all your skin, for instance, becomes totally inflamed and stays that way forever. Part of it is because like there's no cortisol to reduce the inflammation anymore. But part of it's also that you have been putting a Band-Aid on top of a Band-Aid on top of a Band-Aid for years. Hiding the real root, infection or whatever the metaphor calls for. And instead of actually dealing with the root problem, you've just been hiding it and then hiding it some more. And then when it pops up even stronger, you hide it again. That's what these drugs do. So if you're going through topical steroid withdrawal right now, my heart goes out to you. It really does. It's nothing to laugh about, and it's nothing to take lightly. It really isn't. And it almost drew me to suicide. I'm so happy that it didn't, because so I'm just thankfully I realized I learned enough about true health and about what the body is capable of once you give it the space and the time and the energy to do what it needs to do. What I'm talking about is fasting, obviously. If you've seen any of my other videos, I'm a very strong proponent of fasting, because it's what saved my life. Fasting and a very simple diet. And it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Like, really, it's that simple. It's so simple, in fact, that I can't really follow the TSW support groups, like on Facebook, for instance, or I can't remember even what that there's that main support guy. It's at Sin or something like that. I can't remember, sorry. But I can't follow those groups anymore, because even though there are people there who are seeking help and they're looking for support and looking for other people who have been dealing with the same things, which is great and really helpful, and it helped me as well. Especially there was one girl, a daughter of a woman I was working with, who was dealing with topical steroid withdrawal at the same time as me, and we corresponded through email a few times, and that really helped. It was just like, wow, there's somebody else going through the same thing as I am. So that really helps. But the reason I can't follow these groups is because the fundamental ideology that they have, which is kind of overarching, is just still kind of under the thumb of the medical industrial complex. I don't really know how to explain it, except through, well, for example, when I was using those support groups a few years back, the biggest rage was trying out these new immunosuppressant drugs that was supposedly would help out with topical steroid withdrawals and reduce the intensity of the symptoms. And I just couldn't wrap my head around that. It was like, okay, so you've just ruined your endocrine system through many years of misuse of allopathic drugs. And now you want to actually put another Band-Aid on top of the damn Band-Aid that's broken already with another drug. And I was just like, oh, can you please stop? And then there were other things as well, like the constant debate between the people who said that you should be eating healthy and taking care of your diet, and the other group that said that you could just eat whatever you want, don't worry about it, nothing has any effect on topical steroid withdrawal, it just needs time to clear itself out. And again, I was just like, are you insane? The diet, your diet, is the fuel of your body, and if you give it shitty fuel, you'll get shitty results. If you give it good fuel, you'll get better results. If you give it no fuel for some time and then give it good fuel, you'll get even better results. So fasting for the win. But I hope you know what I mean. Like there's this weird dogma going on in the support groups there that just really just do not float my boat. if I can use that saying correctly there. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think kind of lost my train of thought there. Anyway, use the support groups if you think they're helping you, like for sure. And if you meet some people on there that you can talk to and that are going through similar things that you are, use them definitely. But I would be very skeptical on the things that you read on there. I remember, I don't know if it's still there, I haven't checked out these groups for years, but last time I was there, medical medium was the big rage as well. You know, the guy who channels people's health problems and figures out what needs to happen for them to regain their health through channeling. And I'm not like I'm a pretty open-minded guy. I'm not really against channeling or anything like that. I'm quite spiritual, but this seemed like snake oil. Like really, he was talking about celery juice and some virus that supposedly is to be found in almost every human being on the planet that apparently has a more powerful impact on some people than other people. Stuff like that. Like, don't know if there's anything behind it. He's obviously studied, medicine and health somewhat. So, I'm not really bashing the guy, but I was just like, I don't know. Just feels like people really need to think for themselves a bit more. Drink celery juice if you think it's going to help, but just really do your own research. And I'm not like saying people don't do that. I think most people in these support groups are really doing their own research. They're trying to take responsibility for their own health, and God bless them for it, because that's the only way that you can regain your health. So I feel like I've talked enough about the support groups for now and about topical steroid withdrawal in general. I want to go a bit more into my own story with topical steroid withdrawal, because I think it may help you. If you're going through this, it may help you. So just a quick recap. You can check out my older videos if you want to see. I think my first 2 videos were me going into my story more in depth, but I'll just recap it a bit here. So I dealt with topical steroid withdrawals supposedly for about 5 years. I quit cold turkey in the summer of 2014, I think. And I think I would say it officially ended the summer of 2019. So that's 5 years. But the thing is, I had been following those groups. I had been following the advice of Dr. Rappaport. Was that his name? I think so. That famous doctor who's basically the only doctor who has studied topical steroid withdrawal. And I I had been following the advice found on these forums for a long time. And, the main advice was just take care of yourself, try to stay healthy if you can, and just wait it out. And it's going to take 3 to 5 years, probably. Maybe you're lucky and it'll take a few months, but probably it's going to take years. And I was just like, that's obviously an understatement, because it ruins your life. It takes away all your energy. I was doing all kinds of awesome things at the time. Like I was studying illustration in a really cool school here in downtown Reykjavik. I'd gotten halfway through that before I had to quit, because all of my energy was going into worrying about my skin and just dealing with all of the different issues that followed along with this. And my health was just terrible. I just could not. I just remember waking up one day. I was supposed to go cycle off to school. And I just thought, like, I can't do it anymore. Just cannot do it anymore. So I had to quit. And couldn't work, couldn't do anything really. I was just really an invalid. Having said that word, I feel like it's now politically incorrect to say it. I don't really care. It's a good word. Anyway, so I quit school. That was 2017, I think. There came a few years after that where sometimes I felt a bit better. I was trying out all kinds of different diets. Tried out keto and tried out raw and was vegan for a while as well, and got into like short fasts as well. So I was doing all kinds of things to try to figure out my health, and I was reading book after book after book after book after book about health and about alternative medicine, and that really helped. It really did, but it was a long process, and the learning curve was very steep. But it did help. It really did. You should do as much research as you possibly can on your body, on different methods of regaining health. But I would say the simpler the better. And that's how I got to the point where I'm at now, where I'm not really dogmatic at all about my diet anymore. I'm doing it very intuitively. So I'm fasting a lot, but when I don't feel like fasting, I don't fast. When I do feel like fasting, I do fast. I eat what I feel like I should eat, and I try to be as conscious of possible addictions that may be influencing what my body is craving. So, for example, if I've been eating sugar or drinking coffee, then I know that if I'm craving that, it's not because there are some nutrients in those substances that I need, it's because I have become addicted to it, because they are very addictive substances. So that's something to keep in mind. This video has gone on for 20 minutes, so I'm going to cut it up into 2 pieces. So we'll end it here. In the next video, I'm going to talk, I'm going to go more in depth on my own story with topical steroid withdrawal and how I healed it. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.